Hey, welcome to the Explainer. This is where we take big, complex topics and, well, we make them simple.
All right, so let's just jump right in with a pretty wild question. How does your body stop from, poisoning itself from the inside out? Because here's the thing. Every living creature, everything from a tiny microbe to a massive blue whale, is constantly producing waste. It's just a byproduct of being alive. And getting rid of that stuff, it's not just about staying clean. It's literally a matter of survival.
So, first things first. Before we can talk about how we get rid of all this waste, we gotta understand what it actually is.
Yeah, this isn't about, the leftovers in your fridge. We are talking about something much, much smaller. This is metabolic waste. It's the chemical junk left over from the millions and millions of tiny reactions that are firing off inside your cells every single second. A great way to think about it is like it's the exhaust fumes coming from the tiny engines that power your body.
And this is where we need to make a really key distinction, because people mix these up all the time. There's excretion and there's egestion. Excretion is getting rid of that metabolic waste we just talked about, the cellular stuff like urea from your kidneys or the CO2 you exhale. Egestion, well, that's just getting rid of undigested food, poop. They're both about getting rid of waste, sure, but they are totally different processes.
So, why is this so critical? What's the big deal? Well, at the end of the day, without excretion, our insides would turn into basically a toxic soup. Seriously, the pH of our blood would go haywire from all the CO2, other waste would just build up, and eventually our cells would just stop working. Excretion is kind of like the body's ultimate non-stop cleaning crew, making sure the whole system stays in perfect working order.
Okay, so our body has this whole crew of organs working on cleanup duty, right? The lungs are breathing out waste gases, the skin is sweating out salts, the liver's busy detoxifying things. But today, we're going to put the spotlight on the real MVP of the excretory system, the absolute star of the show, the kidney. You've got two of these amazing bean-shaped organs, and they're each only about the size of your fist. But don't let their size fool you. They are the absolute workhorses of your urinary system. They just never stop, cleaning your blood 24/7.
And if you need proof of how important they are, get this. Right now, as you're listening, your kidneys are getting somewhere between 20 and 25% of all the blood your heart is pumping. Think about that. A full quarter of your body's entire blood flow at any given moment is going straight to the kidneys just to get cleaned. That's insane.
And with all that blood rushing through, they produce something like 180 liters of filtrate every single day. Now, to put that in perspective, you've only got about 5 liters of blood in your whole body. So your kidneys are filtering your entire blood supply more than 35 times a day. It's incredible. Of course, you're not peeing out 180 liters. Thankfully, the kidneys are smart enough to reabsorb over 99% of that fluid, putting all the good stuff back in your body and leaving just the concentrated gunk behind.
All right, so we've seen the big picture. Now let's zoom way in, like microscope level in, to see where the real action is. So inside the kidney, you've got this outer layer, the cortex, and an inner part called the medulla. And packed into these layers, that's where you find the real machinery.
How many? Well, each kidney is stuffed with about 1 million of these little microscopic powerhouses, and they're called nephrons.
So, what is a nephron? Just think of it like a single, super advanced, tiny water purification plant. This is the spot where the blood gets filtered, cleaned, and sorted out. And remember, you've got millions of these tiny plants all working together, side by side to keep you healthy. Now, this is so cool. The nephron uses this really clever 3-step process to get the job done. Step 1 is filtration. Basically, your blood pressure forces all the liquid and small stuff out of the blood, kind of like squeezing water through a coffee filter. The big things, like blood cells and proteins, get left behind. Then comes step 2, reabsorption. This is the quality control part. The body goes through that filtered liquid and pulls back all the good stuff it wants to keep. Water, glucose, important salts. It's like, oops, didn't mean to throw that out. And finally, step 3 is secretion. This is where the body does a final check and actively grabs any leftover waste products from the blood and throws them into the mix. It's an incredibly efficient and precise system. Okay, so that's us. But we're not the only creatures on the planet that have to deal with waste, right? So let's zoom back out and take a look at how the rest of the animal kingdom handles the same exact problem.
For a lot of animals, the single biggest headache is figuring out what to do with nitrogen.
It's a waste product you get from breaking down proteins. And it turns out the way an animal solves this nitrogen problem comes down to one crucial factor: how much water they've got.
And this chart just lays it out so perfectly. It's all about a trade-off. If you're a fish, you're literally swimming in water, so you can just release your nitrogen waste as super toxic ammonia because it gets diluted and washed away instantly. No problem. Now for us, mammals, we're a bit more conservative with water. So we spend some energy to convert that toxic ammonia into urea, which is way less harmful and doesn't need nearly as much water to get rid of. But then you have birds and desert reptiles. For them, every drop of water counts, so they spend a ton of energy to turn their waste into uric acid, which is basically a paste. It's not toxic and it saves a massive amount of water.
So when you really think about it, an animal's pee, or whatever it excretes, tells you a story. It's a direct reflection of its habitat. From a fish in the ocean to a bird in the sky, their excretory system is a perfect adaptation to the world they live in. It's evolution in action.
And that kind of brings us to a final, pretty interesting thought. You know, all these amazing, elegant solutions we've just looked at, they were all shaped over millions of years by the environment. So as our own planet's climate changes and water becomes more and more precious in some places, it really makes you wonder, right? How might excretory systems, including our own, have to adapt in the future? It's a fascinating look at the incredible adaptability of life.